Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever you're watching this. Welcome to the Writing Gals. I'm Michelle Pennington,
And I'm Victorine Liskey.
and we're excited to bring you another episode of our Trope Talk series. And today, as promised, we're going to be talking about marriage of convenience. So I'm actually pretty excited about this one because even though I haven't written one yet, it's one of my favorite tropes. And I
Yes.
do plan to write a whole series of Regency novellas with this
Nice.
trope next year. It's kind of been on my writing wish list for a while now. So what do you love about this trope, Victorine?
Oh, I just love the forced proximity, right? They are forced, and it's not just proximity, it's like an intimate proximity, right? They are in the same house, a lot of times in the same bedroom, and they have to try and make it work. And they're both either strangers or just very different, and they have to try and make this work. So I love it.
Yeah. And it's a little bit different than fake relationship, which we're going to talk about next time, in that they're not trying to fool anybody necessarily that they're in love, although they can. You can
You can do it, yeah.
combine the two, but they don't have to be. So they're
Yes,
not the same thing, but they often go together.
yes.
So, and a lot of that really depends on, I think, what category you're writing it in. If you're writing it in historical, it was very socially expected even to have a marriage of convenience, or not even, convenience might not even always be the right word. It would be like a marriage of benefits, right?
Yeah.
Like social benefits. What do you get out of this marriage? Is it, your families are both of equal status and class, or one of you has a lot of money, one of you has the status but not the wealth, and there just a lot of sort of business like reasons to marry, and it wasn't necessarily expected that you would even love each other. But I think if you write in contemporary romance, it does tend to be more of that we have to pretend to like each other so people
Mhm.
will believe that we'd really get married.
Yes, I think you're right.
Contemporary, you have to come up with a reason why they're doing this.
Yes.
And so how do you come up with a plausible reason in contemporary time why
In
two people
contemporary
have to
okay,
get married?
I think probably the most plausible for contemporary has to do with very rich families that want that social contract between their businesses or whatever. So, I think that's probably the most, plausible reason for contemporary.
Yeah, I see it a lot with when there's an heir or a will, that trope, which is a little bit trickier because, like, how do you legally
Yeah.
make something forced on someone? Like, how do you force someone to get married? But, there's shenanigans people can try and pull in wills, and you can make it seem believable. And it's also common in, like you said, it can like a celebrity thing, like where you have something social to gain by being married, or like in a workplace. Sometimes I see it where a corporation, like you have a boss that gives promotions to people who are married that they see as being settled and established and responsible. So that is one thing that can often lead to it. And then sometimes it's just about um, health or security. If you go back to people's basic needs, and health and security are driving forces and motivators. And so sometimes I see tropes where one of them is really ill and they know they won't live long, or they have some sort of financial need that the other one can fill for whatever reason. Both of them have to come to it with a reason, and they can be different reasons or the same reason, but they both have to be highly motivated to be there.
Yes.
One of the contemporary ones I see a lot in dramas is that they have an older relative that is on their deathbed, and their
Mm.
only wish is to see their precious grandchild get married before they leave. And so that one is just like an emotional blackmail almost.
Right?
So that one works a lot.
Oh, and in the movie The Proposal, it's because she's gonna be deported and she needs to get married to stay in the country. So you could do that too.
So you just got to come up with some reason why this makes sense. And then and actually because of this, it's not like some tropes where there's really only one way to do it. There's a lot of different ways you can put your own twist on it and add your own, sort of take on the trope. But I think one of the things that they always have to have is some sort of contract,
Yes.
right? So they come to an agreement on what each of them needs and what they're willing to do, and maybe how long the marriage will last, what their obligations are, what the things you can't do in the relationship. Like you can't have feelings for me. That's a common clause for a contract. Have you written marriage of convenience that has a contract in it?
So this is the one I wrote, Marriage of Anything But Convenience, and they have to stay married for a certain amount of time. I forget how long it is, if it's 1 year or 2 years, something like that. And I'm trying to remember if they set ground rules. They probably did.
Well, 'cause I think the ground rules are where it gets fun, right?
Yes.
For one reason, you don't want this to be a real marriage too soon.
Right.
And by real, I mean consummating the marriage
Love and all that. Yeah.
and then also deciding that, yeah, let's just go with this. Like
Right.
we were just doing this for, convenience sake, but now, hey, I'm into it. If that happens by chapter 3, then your story is over, right?
Right.
And so you have to have a whole lot of reasons why they can't just immediately become a loving couple.
Yes.
And usually you set that expectation up in that conversation where they come to an agreement. Whether it's like a formal contract or not, there's usually this discussion of like, I I fell in my like the woman I loved died and I swore I would never love another woman, but for this reason I need to get married. So don't fall for me because it won't happen.
Yes.
Or there could be expectations of like we have to have a baby, but like you just have to have those discussions and then you have to you have to break that contract down as the story goes on. Like
Yes.
piece by piece by piece, they have to break the contract and then still be together because that's a sign to the reader like, oh, okay, they're not walking away from this even though they keep breaking the terms of the contract because they like each other and they've
Mhm.
realized that they don't want this to end. So, contracts, do it.
That's right.
Even if you like I said, it doesn't have to be written down, and I will talk a lot more about contracts and fake relationships.
Nice.
But in marriage of convenience, I think it is the terms are very important. Now, what happens when your characters start having feelings for each other and then they're in, like you said, in close proximity?
Yes, that's the fun part because the thing that's stopping them from fully just falling in love is this is a marriage of convenience. It is not real, and they have to be like, "All right, I can't let my feelings go because this isn't fully real."
Yeah. A lot of times the whole dreaded misunderstanding trope needs to come into it where um you one character believes this person will never fall for me. This person will never have a real relationship with me. They warned me about it. So because I know they can't go there, then I have to protect my heart.
Mhm.
And even if they are really kind or funny or flirtatious or whatever it is, I can't be deceived. I can't start believing that this is real. And so the character themselves have to keep locking down on their hearts so that they don't trip into the heartbreak zone.
Yes.
Now, shall we touch on other characters that are common in a marriage of convenience story?
Sure, sure, absolutely.
I think I'm just always gonna bring up the other woman, but,
Yeah.
um, in general, there needs to be some kind of antagonistic character, I think, in a marriage of convenience because it should either be um, like I said, another woman, like somebody who wants him or another man who wants her, and so they're trying to break this relationship apart. It could be a rival. So, like, if they're together because of a will, it could be a rival heir, somebody who wants to prove this isn't a real marriage and it breaks the terms of the will, and therefore I get to inherit everything. Or the boss who requires their employees to be married, and one of the coworkers who's vying for the same promotion proves they're not really together. They don't really love each other. You should not promote this person. So some sort of antagonistic character can really be helpful because it adds the tension and suspense that every story needs. So they have this relationship that started out as a business arrangement and is quickly turning into feelings. But what happens if it gets revealed that this was all just done for purely, benefit of, whatever reason?
Mhm.
And so that adds suspense. And then like you mentioned in yours where there was like a time frame, that adds urgency
Yes,
that they don't have 10, 15 years to figure this out. Like they have a deadline.
they do. And
How
so the antagonist in mine is her father who's forcing her to do this. And one of the things that separates them is she views him as kind of the enemy because her father has kind of taken him in and showed him lots of love, and she felt like her father didn't show her lots of love, and
Mhm.
so she really is jealous of him and, sees him, as kind of the enemy, and so it's a little bit enemies to lovers, although he's been in love with her the whole time, so
I was gonna mention that. I love Marriage of Convenience where one of them was already in the feeling zone when they started.
Yes.
But so at some point, both of them get there though.
Yeah,
How
absolutely.
how do we trip from or not like I accidentally fall into love, like, they're trying so hard not to, they have to come to this point where they just can't deny it anymore.
Yes.
And where does that line up with our breakup or our dark moment?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So the
Good
dark
question.
the dark moment, I like in Marriage of Convenience where they kind of commit to each other
Mm,
in some way before they get broken apart for whatever reason. But it doesn't have to be like a firm breakup, like my life is over, but like if there's a contract term where it ends, like how did you play it? Like did they get to the end of the term? Like
so
the
they didn't get to the end of the term, but the way I played it out is she expressed her, feelings of, being forced to do this to her father, and her father lets them out of the contract early. And
Mhm.
so that's the dark moment where she leaves. She's like, "All right, I'm done with this. Let's get a divorce. Dad said I don't have to do this anymore." And, they separate for a little bit, and then they express their feelings toward each
Yeah.
other and, of course, get back together.
So basically you have to break that glue that was holding them together, which was
Yeah.
the agreement.
Mhm.
So that has to somehow be broken, whether it's by the term they agreed on ending or somebody breaking their agreement, then after that, they need to realize, like, I miss them. Like, I
Mhm.
can't function without them. I became used to them because when you live together, you form besides just your feelings, you form so many bonds with each other, and it's
Yes.
not easy to learn to live with somebody. I love
Mhm.
in a marriage of convenience where because you don't always get that in a regular romance, where you have to learn to share a bathroom with someone or figure out what kinds of foods they like or whether or not they, are willing to sleep with the light on or leave
Yeah,
their
yeah.
towels on the floor, like all those messy things they worked through and were probably kind of frustrated with each other a lot. And they worked through that. And that process established this bond and they miss it once it's gone.
Yes.
And so that is the propelling force for them to lead into the the grand gesture and confession stage of I really love you. I want to make it real. And that's my favorite part. of a marriage of convenience is I want it to be real now.
Yes.
And that is, I think, in some ways better than just a happily ever after.
Right?
I think it is. I think there's just something special about, you know, we've had this, relationship, and now I want it to be real and I want it to be forever. So
Yes.
that's my happy moment of
Awesome.
convenience. Um, I was gonna bring up some other common tropes. It's common in royalty
Yes.
romances as well. Co-parenting relationships, like where, like two people who are not parents of the baby somehow have to be guardians of the baby and then they get married together. It's common in, I guess, in second baby, probably for the sake of the child. I don't read a ton of those, as we'll talk about. And then fish out of water and like the Cinderella trope, because especially if one or the other of them is really wealthy,
Mhm.
them isn't, then a lot of times those other tropes will come into it. And on a scene trope level, you have to have an only one bed scene.
Yes, you do.
Like you have it's required. I think your readers would be really mad if there was never an only one bed scene.
Right.
And Meet the Family.
Yes, I think Meet the Family is another one I was gonna say. That one
And
needs to be in there.
yeah, and then like as an extra little sprinkle of interest, if you add some fake identity in there, it
Mm.
can get really fun because you can get into this business arrangement with someone that you thought you knew who they were, and then you get married and find out,
It's
"Oh, no,
not.
it's completely different. I did not know I was marrying a billionaire. I did not know I was marrying, the heir, the crown prince for some small country," you know? So I think fake identity is a fun one to move in there as well. So,
Fun.
yep,
Awesome. Well, this has been awesome.
I know, and now I'm all fired up to write my.
Now you all wanna write it, don't you?
I hope you guys, if you enjoy Marriage of Convenience, that this was helpful. Stay tuned next week. We're going to be talking about fake relationships, which is
Yes,
my personal favorite of
me
the
too.
sort of like marriagey, relationshipy tropes. And in the meantime, we would love it if you would subscribe so that you can join us for this whole series and check out all of our past videos. And we also have an academy, the Writing Gals Academy, that you can
Yes.
join. It's a subscription-based, um, format where you can come on. And how many classes do we have now? 70?
Over 70 now, so really exciting,
And we'll
yes.
have more coming soon. So you can come and, watch all of the classes in our academy, and it's $9.99 a month.
$9.95. You
9.95,
saved
and you
4
save 4
pennies.
cents. That's a better deal than I thought. So thanks, everybody. It's been a great time, and we'll see you next Tuesday for more Trope Talk.
Bye.
Bye.